spotlight cut through like lightning. The countdown thundered. 3, 2, 1. Britney stepped out, and the entire arena erupted like a storm of light. But when the curtain fell, a cruel truth awaited. The man she loved, Justin Timberlake, was the very one who sowed her pain. He appeared as a shoulder to lean on, but slowly turned love into a contract she could never escape. In her memoir, Britney spoke of a pregnancy. At that time, Justin said he wasn't ready to be a father, begging for it to end early. That shock didn't just take away a child, it carved a permanent hollow in her heart. Then came the breakup, delivered in a cold text message. Immediately after, Cry Me a River poured onto television screens with a woman resembling Britney, a blade of accusation suggesting she had betrayed him. The public wept for him, while she endured a storm of condemnation. From then on, words like, "I'm here for you," turned into paperwork, clauses, signatures. Gentleness wore the mask of care, but inside hid control and conditions. While tens of thousands cheered her name, Britney's heart was locked inside an invisible box labeled, "For Us." And tonight, we unseal the darkest chapters, where a promise of love became a noose, where one person's music turned another's pain into a career stepping stone, and where a global icon slowly lost the right to decide her own life simply because she trusted the wrong person and loved too sincerely. Louisiana, late 1980 seconds, a small house with weathered wooden walls. Inside, little Britney with bright eyes singing to drown out her parents' fights. Her father, Britney Spears, adrift in alcohol. Her mother, Lynn, struggling to make ends meet. That home offered few embraces, but endless gaps for a child to imagine. If I sing well enough, someone will love me and never leave. From an early age, Britney equated love with validation. The stage became the only place she felt seen, applauded, cherished. But that mechanism planted a dangerous seed. The more deprived she was of affection, the more desperately she sought a man who could play the role of protector. Disney Channel opened the first door. The Mickey Mouse Club took Britney to Hollywood glittering, but cold. She smiled brightly before the cameras, but when the lights went out, loneliness came rushing back. As a teenager, Britney had already become the family's breadwinner. Every dollar from her tender voice was both pride and invisible shackle. She had to keep giving, keep pleasing. Into that emotional void stepped Justin Timberlake, her childhood co-star. Britney gave him her complete trust. He embodied everything she lacked: friend, lover, protector. But with wounds from childhood too deep, she couldn't distinguish love from control. She mistook conditional concern for genuine care. That fragile foundation made Britney a drifting boat. One embrace, one sweet promise, and she would let herself be carried away. And that fragility paved the way for tragedy where love no longer saved, but became the tightening net. Late 1990 seconds. A musical blast shook the world. Baby One More Time. The image of a schoolgirl in white uniform, braided hair, innocent yet defiant eyes, Britney Spears became a phenomenon. From Los Angeles to Tokyo, from London to Paris, every stage echoed with her name. The Princess of Pop was born, and the world believed they were witnessing a real-life Cinderella. But behind the dazzling performance lay a script already written. Her management dictated every step, every lyric, every relationship. Even her romance with Justin was painted as a fairy tale love. Two perfect teen idols, holding hands beneath a storm of flashbulbs. That image sold magazine covers, tickets, and records. While audiences swooned, Britney began to feel the tightening rope. She was no longer the dreamy girl singing for fun, but a money-making machine. Songs, tours, endorsements all built the image of the sweet American girl to be endlessly exploited. Yet behind the curtain, love, once her refuge, was turning into a tool. Justin wasn't just her boyfriend. He was part of the brand, a cog in the profit machine that trapped her. The more famous she became, the greater the emptiness grew. On the outside, blazing light. Inside, her heart locked in an icy room. She smiled when the lights were on, but when they dimmed, applause vanished. replaced by silence and scrutiny. You must stay perfect. You must love the way we want. In that cruel contrast, princess on stage, puppet backstage, the mask of glory began to crack. And behind that crack lay a love rotting into darkness, unseen by Britney herself. On magazine covers, Britney and Justin were the emblem of a generation. Two young stars, flawless smiles, hands clasped in eternal promise. But in the backstage shadows, their relationship was becoming a chain. Britney, scarred by a loveless childhood, clung to love like a lifeline. Justin, an ambitious rising star, turned love into a stage to prove his dominance. The breaking point came when Britney became pregnant. To her, it meant a family, a balm for her childhood emptiness. To Justin, it was a burden he wasn't ready for. He pleaded for it to end early. That shock didn't just steal an unborn child, it shattered her fragile trust. From then on, the rift was irreparable. Then came the final blow, cold as a knife. A breakup via text. But the tragedy didn't stop there. Justin swiftly released "Cry Me a River," a song casting him as the noble victim, branding Britney as the betrayer. A Britney lookalike appeared in the video, a wordless accusation. The public sided with him, while Britney bore the storm of hate. What began as youthful romance turned into a one-sided stage. Justin's music celebrated, Britney's pain commodified to lift him higher. Love, built on trust, had become the trap that caged a girl who loved too deeply. And in her collapse, Britney realized, sometimes the one who makes you feel loved is the first to strip everything away. Britney sat alone in a dark room, the crowd's roar outside still pounding like hammers in her head. She clutched her stomach once, carrying a tiny life, forced to end when Justin said he wasn't ready. That loss burned like a knife twisting forever. She turned on the TV, and there she was, or rather, a fake Britney, starring in "Cry Me a River." Each frame a fresh stab. The world gossiped, pointed, branded her a cheater. Justin stood in the glow, hailed as the great wronged man. Britney swallowed her tears, knowing the cruel truth. The more she cried, the more they would sell. The next show, the spotlight struck, and she forced a smile. Inside, her heart crumbled. Her legs moved to the beat, but each step was heavy as stone. The audience saw a star glittering. She only felt like a puppet on strings. Her deepest pain wasn't just losing love, it was seeing the whole world turn its back, watching her private suffering turned into public spectacle. It was wanting to scream the truth, but choking it down, knowing no one would believe her. And so, in the roar of thousands, the little girl inside her quietly withered in silence. After successive collapses, Britney was no longer seen as a free princess of pop. Instead, the U.S. courts placed her under conservatorship, a legal guardianship. The man in control, her father, Jamie Spears. From documents, finances, even where she could go, who she could see, what medication she took, everything required someone else's signature. Britney, the star who sold hundreds of millions of albums, built a pop empire, now had to ask permission to spend her own money. She couldn't choose her lawyer, couldn't decide her schedule, couldn't even say no when forced to perform. Each time she went on stage, Britney smiled and sang, but deep down, she knew she was a prisoner in glittering dresses. The pain became unbearable. Toxic love had ended, but the chains turned legal. She lost the most basic right to live as a normal human being. In hearings, Britney begged, "I just want my life back." For over a decade, that voice was drowned by power and profit. At the time, the public didn't know or didn't want to know that behind the dazzling lights of long-running Las Vegas shows was a bound heart. Britney sang, but each lyric felt like a forced cry for help disguised as melody. Only when the number Free Britney movement exploded did the world recoil. A global symbol of youth and freedom had been caged legally, publicly, for 13 years. November 2021. A judge officially ended the conservatorship. Britney Spears wept, not for Justin, not for betrayal, but for finally regaining ownership of her life. She walked out of court not just as an artist, but as a fighter. Her story became a symbol for millions of women, those betrayed by love, silenced by society, crushed by power, Number Free Britney was no longer just a hashtag. It was a warning bell about how fragile freedom can be. Even in the modern world, Britney's legacy is not only in pop anthems like Baby One More Time or Toxic. It lives in her resilience after being shattered, in her courage to tell the truth, and in the tears of fans who cried hearing her first say, "I just want to be free." Today, Britney is no longer the princess of pop locked in a crystal cage. She is proof that even when false lights fade, a true flame can rise from the darkness. And one final question echoes. How many times have we cheered for the glittering spotlight, yet failed to hear the cries hidden behind a smile?